What's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Cassandra, and today we are walking you guys through an entire week of meals. This is a what's for dinner video from my from scratch kitchen. We are making calzones, we're making a loaded mac and cheese, lots of delicious stuff. I'm showing you guys some of my family's favorite meals. It just so happened that this week we did a lot of family favorites. We're doing some tried and trues, and we're also trying some new recipes. So come on and let's show you guys what my large family of 6 had for dinner this week. Working kitchen. We got dishes. I roasted a whole turkey yesterday and my husband helped me pick it, so this is our big bowl of turkey. And then I had celery, onion, and carrots in with the turkey when we roasted it. All of that now is in our soup pot here. Carrots out of there, the onions out of there, and our turkey, and put that in the pot with some chicken stock that I recently got from my Amish store. If you want to see that video where I show my Amish store grocery haul, I'll link that down below. But I have my carrots in here. I'm debating if I'm gonna add corn and peas. I probably will. And this is our base for our soup. So veggies and our shredded turkey, which is gonna be delicious. I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of cream at the end here and maybe a little bit of flour and milk mixture just to thicken it up, make it a little bit more like a chowder. Over here I have a pot of water just now starting to come up to a boil, and right here I have my dumpling mix. I cracked 4 eggs in here, put probably 4 cups of flour, basil, seasoned salt, pepper, and probably about half a cup of milk or so. And this is my dumpling mixture. I say this every time I show the dumplings. Make sure you wash this pot out right away, or the pan, whatever you're using, bowl to mix this together, because this stuff, when it dries, it becomes so unbelievably sticky. So definitely wash this out right away, rinse it out right away, because this stuff becomes cement when it dries, and it's just a terrible time to try to get out. So make sure you rinse your pot, your bowl, whatever it is that you're mixing this in. Dumplings are super easy. All you're going to do is take a little bit of a spoonful here. You can use a cookie scoop, whatever you have. I just use 2 spoons. Put it in the boiling water. Once it floats, I usually give it about 30 seconds or so floating at the surface. I will scoop it out of my boiling water, put it into my soup, and I like to let my soup simmer for about 20 minutes or so with my dumplings in it to kind of finish cooking, so it soaks up all the broth and all the turkey juice and all the deliciousness that's in your soup. So really simple. I'll show you guys dumplings as we're putting them together here, and our finished soup once this comes together. I just have to go down to the freezer and grab a bag of corn, a bag of peas, and we'll thicken this soup up a little bit, and this will be perfect. It's gonna make leftovers for us, so probably tomorrow I won't have to make dinner tomorrow, which is great. And we also have 2 loaves of bread from the Amish store that I got as well, so we'll have bread and soup tonight and leftovers for tomorrow as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So let's go ahead and get these dumplings going. I really just use 2 spoons. This is what I have. You can use a fork, whatever, but these do expand. They get pretty big, so depending on how big you want your dumplings, smaller is better. And I usually make a lot of dumplings because everybody loves them. Obviously, the bigger the dumpling, the longer it's gonna take to cook, the longer you're going to want it float or let it simmer in your soup. But no fancy equipment needed. And then they do have a tendency to stick to the bottom of the pot, so I will just go in and stir them up from the bottom and keep going. I tend to work in batches, that way I don't get the pot crowded or I'm accidentally scooping out raw dumplings. But they don't take that long to cook at all. And then once I start getting dumplings that are floating at the top is when I'll stop. I'll kind of let everything else start floating. I'll scoop them all out and then start with a new batch. You can see I already have some dumplings that are floating. Some people will say scoop them out now, put them in your chicken broth. I like to give mine a minute or 2, and then I just scoop them out with a slotted spoon, something like this, and scoop them out, put them right into my chicken broth to kind of let them finish off in the chicken broth. And then I'll work on my second batch of dumplings in the same water. Kind of stir these around and you can see just how beautiful they are. The dumplings have a really nice golden color because of the farm fresh yolks, and that's really as simple as it is to make dumplings. So it doesn't have to be complicated or super crazy to make homemade dumplings. If noodles is out of your wheelhouse, this would be a good place to start. I want to show you guys dinner tonight while I'm cooking. It's very straightforward and very simple. So in here I have some of my glorious bacon that we just got from our hog here. This was what was in one package. I got my bacon cut at 1 inch thick. I wanted these thick slices. That way when we're doing BLTs and things, they're like, it's more of like a lunch meat, right? It's a really thick, hearty slice. So I wanted to see if we liked those. So I got some bacon coming down here, low and slow on that. Once my bacon is done, I'm going to chop it up and then I'll add in, these are Brussels sprouts from the garden. We've been really slow on these. I got 4 gallons of sprouts, which is awesome. So I got about a gallon off of each Brussels sprout plant that I had out there, which is an amazing yield. They did not take up a lot of space and we got a lot of food off of it, which is really great. We've been really slow in going through them. They're not everybody's favorite. So I've never roasted them in bacon. So that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna cook down my bacon and then I'll probably boil these off a little bit just to get them soft. And then I'll throw them in the bacon fat, kind of toss them, a little bit of pepper, add my bacon back in, and that's how I'm gonna prepare these. In my pot here, I have some potatoes. We're gonna do mashed potatoes and gravy, which I'll get some gravy going in a little bit. And then in the oven, I have one of those veggie packed meatloafs that we prepped together a couple of weeks ago. And once that is closer to being done, I'm gonna top it with a bunch of ketchup, and that's gonna be dinner tonight. So we have our meatloaf with a lot of vegetables in the meatloaf as well. And I used my sourdough bread in that meatloaf as my binder. So really excited about that. Our mashed potatoes for our starch, and then just another added vegetable. And this is good because if the kids decide that they don't want the Brussels sprouts with the bacon, at least I know they're still getting a ton of veggies that I stuffed in that meatloaf. So as long as they try it, I'm happy with that. So we'll see how these go over. I'll let you know. I think last time I made these, I roasted them in the oven and put cheese on top. So maybe that wasn't everybody's favorite preparation. So we'll give this a go because I still have 2 or 3 gallon-sized bags in the deep freeze. And I want to make sure that I'm using all of my garden produce from last year because before we know it, new garden produce is going to be going in there. So we're going to see how these go over. But that is going to be dinner tonight. If I remember, I'll show a plate with everything put together. Today we are making for dinner some sort of a loaded mac and cheese. I will link the recipe that I used as an inspiration down below in the description box. I found it from Pinterest. It's originally a cheesy chicken kind of noodle pasta baked deliciousness, and I kind of took that recipe, used the ingredients, and kind of did my own thing. So we're going to start off by browning an entire kielbasa in my skillet here. I wanted to start with this so that my kielbasa was a little bit more crisp. The original recipe does not call to do this, but I wanted my kielbasa to have a little bit more flavor and a little bit more texture. So once my kielbasa was all kind of crisped up and brown, in the same pot, in those kielbasa drippings, I put in about 3 tablespoons of butter. We're going to get that melted in the pot, and once that's melted, we're going to add in about a 1/4 cup of flour and get that mixed together to create a paste. This is going to be our roux or our thickener for our cheese sauce. So once that was all together, London really wanted to help tonight. She loves mac and cheese and she just wanted to know how we made it. So I was walking her through. She was being my helper, which was actually greatly appreciated because my husband was not home yet and Cleo was very clingy, just wanting to be held. So it really felt like even though I was holding the baby, I still had 2 hands. So I had her pour in our heavy cream. You can use milk, you can use half and half, whatever you have, but I had a lot of heavy cream that needed to be used up, so we went with that. We are throwing in about probably 1.5 cups to 2 cups of this shredded cheddar because that's what I had in the fridge. Use whatever you have. I also threw in a couple slices of pepper jack cheese, got that all melted, and once it was smooth, I threw in our cooked pasta noodles and 1 bag of steamed veggies. This veggie mix had green beans and corn and peas and carrots and deliciousness, and this was our kind of loaded baked mac and cheese. It was delicious. Really, really good. Like I said, I'll link the original recipe down below if you're curious, and we had a lot of leftovers of this as well, and it ended up being a really yummy dinner. We did calzones tonight. I didn't film it, but a variety of calzones here. This is just my pizza crust recipe. I can write it out down below for you guys. Some of them are supreme, like this one with some garden peppers and onions, sausage, pepperoni, cheese. Some are just pepperoni and cheese, some are pepperoni, sausage and cheese, some are just cheese. And when they still have about 5 minutes or so left in the oven, I melt some butter in the microwave and add to that butter some garlic salt and some Parmesan cheese and brush that over the top. Put them in the oven to let them finish baking, and we dip these in some of our pasta sauce, pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce. We use it all interchangeably here. It's all the same thing. And this is what's left after everybody already ate. So these will go in the fridge, and we always do some sort of pizza like this on Friday. And these go in the fridge. We can have these for lunches tomorrow, snacks over the weekend for the kids or for whoever, but lots of happenings here. This is probably a full meal for us because we can cut this into either half or in thirds, and there's plenty of us for the 6 of us to have another go of this. And then to go with that, this morning before the kids got on the bus, they asked if I could make cinnamon rolls today. So I made a batch of cinnamon rolls. I just used my bread recipe, and that is linked down below for you guys. I use the white bread recipe because if you click that link, there's a ton of different bread recipes. I use the white bread. And then I did something different today. Before I put the oven in, sprinkled or poured a little bit of heavy whipping cream in both pans, and I really liked it. And then instead of making cream cheese frosting to top these, I just made icing to put on top of these for the first time. I've never done that before on our cinnamon rolls, so we gave that a go, and they really like these. And once again, this is what's left over after the day. Everybody's getting ready to kind of hang out. It's close to 7, so a lot of our little kids have been going to bed. We'll package all this away, wrap these up, and then tomorrow we'll have cinnamon rolls with breakfast with some eggs and bacon probably, and that'll be breakfast tomorrow. So these are just gonna be leftover for tomorrow, as well as our leftover calzones, and it's really easy as that. So I really like being able to do that bulk. I wouldn't say bulk make something. I just made a double batch of my pizza crust recipe, so what I written out down below, I doubled that. I make that in my mixer all at once, and I got 7 calzones out of it, all different shapes, obviously, all different sizes. For the kids, I make smaller ones. For me and my husband, I make bigger ones. That's typically how we do it, but I got 7 of those, and I got 13 rolls out of this, out of 1 bread recipe. Typically, my bread recipe makes 2 loaves. Not typically, my bread recipe does make 2 loaves, and then this is, I got 2 batches of cinnamon rolls, 13 total. So that's what all this is broken down. That was a lot of rambling, but that's what we had for like dinners, and then kind of like a fun treat for after dinner. A mix of things. I'm going to prep some shredded chicken in my Instant Pot for dinner tonight. I'm gonna make a really big batch of chicken salad, not only for dinner tonight, but for lunches, for the weekend. I guess we're heading to the weekend. It's the end of the week. Today is Thursday. I'm flying solo tonight. My husband has night school tonight, and it's 51 degrees out currently, and I'm gonna surprise the kids and bring them to the after they get off the bus. So it is just pushing 2 o'clock, and I want to get this done during Cleo's nap time. So we're gonna go and get this prepped and hopefully in the fridge. That way when the kids come home, we can just make our wraps and get out to the park and get hopefully an hour or so in of playtime before dark. So we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna show you guys how I like to make my chicken salad. Take out my basin here, and I'm gonna get about an inch or so of water on the bottom just so my chicken doesn't stick or burn or anything like that. You don't want to have to buy a rotisserie chicken or have, hang on, I have to take this off. It is so warm today. It's just a really weird concept here in Wisconsin that it could be this warm in February, because typically it's our coldest month of the year. The coldest month of the year. And because the weather has been so warm here consistently, my chickens think it's spring. So they are laying like crazy. I have around 20 laying hens and I'm getting like 2 dozen eggs a day. So my chickens are just, they just keep laying and keep laying and keep laying, which is fantastic. It's a great issue to have, but we're having a hard time keeping up. I'm gonna make a pretty big batch of this just so that my husband can also have this for lunch tomorrow, because he's not gonna be here to pack his own lunch tonight. What I do when I package away dinner on nights, he has night school, is I'll pack him a lunch for tomorrow and stick it front and center in the fridge for him so that he knows it's there, because typically by the time he gets back home, I'm in bed as well. So there's not a lot of time to communicate where things are, what they are. So I want to make sure I have enough left over for him, enough left over for lunch for myself tomorrow, and maybe even lunch for like Saturday, Sunday. I like to go pretty light on the seasonings in here because I like to flavor my chicken salad as chicken salad. This is a mixed spice. It's salt, onion powder, garlic powder, basil, pepper, paprika, parsley, celery seed, oregano. So that's what I just put in here with all of this. So I won't have to add a million other spices. There's some herbs in here, garlic, onion powder. It's a really delicious mix. I got this as a gift one year. Then the very last thing I'm gonna add is a little bit of Cajun seasoning, because that's what we like. And I'm gonna steam this chicken because I have a lot of chicken in here. I'm gonna go for 40 minutes. While this goes, I am going to cut up my additives for the chicken salad. Typically I put in hard-boiled eggs, which I mean, I guess like this is all of the bread I got from my country store. I can link that video down below for you guys if you want to see this haul. But typically I like my chicken salad on, or wrapped in a tortilla, like a wrap with some lettuce and some tomato, things like that. But because I have this delicious fresh bread, they were just putting it on the shelves as I walked in this morning. I think I might eat it on a sandwich today and have an exception. And then the other thing I got was a cinnamon raisin bread, which smells fantastic. And I think after the kids go to bed, I might enjoy a slice of cinnamon raisin bread. I'm just gonna make my hard-boiled eggs on the stove today. I don't feel like pulling out my other Instant Pot, so I'm just gonna get a pot up here with some boiling water, and we're gonna make our hard-boiled eggs the old-fashioned way. I love adding hard-boiled eggs into my chicken salad. It adds just a little bit more protein, keeps you full longer, and like I said, I'm swimming in eggs right now, so we might as well use them up. And the good news is I actually have washed eggs in my fridge right now because I have so many eggs. So I'm not even gonna have to wash eggs. I'm not going to hard boil that many today because I hate peeling hard boiled eggs, and they peel so nicely in the Instant Pot. Don't peel very nicely for me when I boil them on the stove. So I'm probably only gonna do 6 eggs or so. And if they fall apart on me, it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna be chopping them up anyways to put in the chicken salad. So I'm not super worried about it. I'm gonna use these eggs because they've been in my fridge the absolute longest. So they're the ones that need to get out of here the quickest. And these 2 eggs were floating, which just means that they're bad eggs. There's some sort of, they're starting to rot. Essentially, there's gas in the egg that's making it float. So I'm gonna be careful with these. I don't want them to explode on me, which has definitely happened in the past. I'm going to ever so nicely go throw these in my yard. And wherever they land, they will compost. And the chickens might eat them as I throw them and they crack. There's definitely a possibility. So we're gonna get rid of these eggs, but the rest of them that are in here. So additives for chicken salad can really be absolutely anything. I like to keep mine pretty simple, but I'm just kind of a simple girl. So I'm gonna chop up some onion. If I had fresh celery, I would add in fresh celery. I like that crunch of raw vegetables in my chicken salad. I'm gonna add in our hard-boiled eggs and some shredded cheese. That's typically all I ever add in. If raw onion is not your thing and you still want that crunch, you could add in apples, I know people who add in raisins, dill pickles, grapes, whatever you want is fine. I like to keep the salad mixture that sits in the fridge pretty basic, just because then each person can doctor it up with what they like. So I like tomatoes and pickles and lettuce on mine. And then typically I put it in a tortilla that I will crust on the stove or warm up on the stove in a little bit of coconut oil. It gets it a little brown, a little crispy. It's absolutely delicious. You could add in bacon, whatever you want, and it's delicious. I just pinned on Pinterest the other day a BLT chicken salad that I will definitely be doing come summertime when I have all those beautiful grape tomatoes out of the garden and I don't know what to do with them. So I'm gonna move this onion away from me because it is fragrant. So we're gonna push this to the side for now. And the other thing we have to do is make a very quick batch of mayonnaise. So I'm going to show you how I like to make a really beautiful Cajun mayo that is delicious on a sandwich or like in our chicken salad. So let me get the things for that and we're going to make some mayo really quick. If you want to make your own mayo like I'm going to do here, it's really important that you use farm fresh eggs. Farm fresh eggs are just a lot safer. You're going to use the whole thing in your mason jar. You can also do this in a bowl. You don't need a mason jar for this, but I'm gonna store mine in this mason jar, so we're just gonna start it here and keep it here. A squirt of mustard. If you don't have mustard, you can use lemon juice, you can use vinegar. It just has to be something acidic. You can use lime juice. It really isn't super important, but just a squeeze of that. I've used yellow mustard as well. It doesn't have to be Dijon. Then you're gonna do a cup of oil. We're gonna add in our cup of oil. Last thing I'm gonna add in is some of my Cajun seasoning. Pretty simple. The recipe calls for salt, but there's salt in this. I like to put in a good hefty amount in there. You're gonna hover above the bottom for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then you're gonna start moving up and down, and it's going to whip this into mayonnaise. And there is our thick, beautiful, creamy mayo. I'm sure I'm gonna get questions on how long this lasts in the fridge. I've had this last a couple weeks, I think 3 weeks, 4 weeks. How I know it's bad is like any dairy product. I give it a smell, and if it smells really rank, I get rid of it and start over. Thick, beautiful, creamy. I use this to, like I said, like typical uses, sandwiches, and our chicken salad. In the summer, I will probably make big quart mason jars full of this for pasta salad. I also use this as a base for tartar sauce when we're doing fish fries or fish tacos, things like that. So this lasts pretty well. So this is going to be ready to go. This should be enough for our chicken salad here, but you can see how thick and awesome this is. It's amazing. I love this mayo, and I'm not a huge mayo person. I've talked about this in the past. Always taste test it. You can always add more seasoning if you need. Another squirt of Dijon, just mix it up. You can really doctor it up how you want. I used light olive oil for this. Would not recommend a heavy olive oil for this. It's gonna taste very, I don't wanna say, you know, it's just gonna taste like a really thick olive oil. I like light olive oil. You can use what you want, but this is what I like for mine. So all of our pieces are put together now, and I'm just waiting on our eggs to boil. I'll chop those up. Waiting for my chicken to finish cooking in my Instant Pot. I will then put that chicken into my KitchenAid. Let my KitchenAid mix it up for me, and I will also let the KitchenAid mix up my final product. Once my chicken is shredded, I will take a little bit of it out of the KitchenAid to set aside for my kids who don't like chicken salad. I'm gonna make chicken quesadillas for them tonight instead. I'll just store it in a Tupperware, put that in the fridge until a little bit before the kids get home. I'll whip up a couple chicken and cheese quesadillas. It'll be totally fine. The kids will be really happy for it. Then I'll add in my mayo in the KitchenAid with a little bit of shredded cheese, those chopped onions that we did, our chopped hard-boiled eggs, and that's gonna be dinner tonight. Really simple, really easy. If the kids want, I can cut up some apples. I have cucumbers in the fridge still. I've got carrots in the fridge, so they can do fruits and vegetables as a side, some fresh fruits and vegetables as a side, and hopefully we'll be off to play at the park. So that's gonna be dinner tonight.